Hi everyone, my name is Michael McKeever. I'm an instructor at Santa Rosa Junior College in Sonoma County. Right now I am in Garden Grove, about 10 miles from Disneyland. The grant center that I work with, MPIC, is putting on a conference down here, Faculty Development Week, and we are here for a week putting on a number of training tracks. So I couldn't be in two places at once, so I worked this out with Blaine to be able to present from here to you all up there, this little presentation on improving collaboration. The track that I'm teaching down here involves using CCC Confer to improve individuals' courses, either in person or online. So I've got about 7 faculty members here with me, and they are online joining this session from the room where I am conducting this workshop. So we're in my room where I do the training, and so the faculty that are here with me are kind of watching this presentation and logged in as an example of how to use this tool to conduct online classes or live classes with this tool as a component to improve their courses. But the topic that we have for today is this improving collaboration between community colleges with the aim of bettering faculty and student outcomes. So to explain it a bit, first off, and Blaine, you can interact and just type in the chat window if you want. I wanted to see if anybody had experience with Roundabouts. So if anybody online who's joined in, y'all can raise your hand. Or yeah, Roundabouts. Anybody not use them? So no's. So we got some no's. And so we've got them in London, England. If you wanted the yes performance from the 70s, then that's the link down here from YouTube from the song. They are there's a lot of them in Europe. The Arc de Triomphe you can see there. The chaotic one, if you look really closely at that one, that's in Swindon, England. And if you look closely, you can see, okay, you got the main roundabout there, and there's little ones here, and there's another one there. So you got roundabouts within roundabouts. I mean, this looks like really insane. You could kind of get lost in there with the circles within circles. So roundabouts are an attempt at improving traffic flow. So imagine a 4-way intersection where you've got stop signs at 4 ways. And instead of that, you've got this roundabout where you've got these 4 lanes coming into a circle. And everybody kind of goes into the middle of the circle and goes round and then goes out the entrance that they want to, the exit that they want to go to. So nobody has to stop. And one of the things about roundabouts is, for those of you that never used them, they sound kind of terrifying. And if you go to Europe and you look at them and you see the insane drivers, especially in Italy, that's really scary. I was in France last year and in Paris, and it was interesting going through them. If you're not used to them, then they're kind of scary. But a little quote here from the Federal Highway Administration: if you don't know about them, it's like they're scary and I don't want to do them, and people have a negative view of them. But after they're done, built, and people use them, nobody has a negative comment about them or remark, and over 70% hold a positive or very positive view of these roundabouts or these traffic circles. So I'm using that as an analogy regarding kind of changing the way that we're teaching and sharing classes and sharing students. And what we're sort of proposing here is a method or a model of delivering courses. We call it a dual delivery, and I do with a triple teaching component. And the dual delivery is, I'm teaching live in a classroom, and I've got 4, 5, 6 people in the room here with me, and then you all are up in San Jose online from my perspective, and yet you're all live together in that room and as a group. And then there's a number of other people who are remotely accessing the session from wherever they are. So Carol, where are you? Are you in San Jose? And Dennis, because I know you guys aren't in my class down here, so you're somewhere else. You can go ahead and type second. So Houston, wow. So anybody else that's out of state, so Chester, who's not in San Jose, and the ones that are in my room, I know you guys. So just pipe in where you are, so you can see. I can do a live class and have an online component at the same time, and I teach all of my classes this way. so that students who can't make it to class can be there and can attend the live, and I record it just like we're recording this session so they can view the archive in case they can't attend the live session. And as a result of that, I end up having a significantly higher student retention and student success. I teach a series that goes on for over a year in length. Class takes a year. And from the start of the class to the end of the class, I lose about 50% of the students. But having started this program, teaching this way, I've probably increased student retention by about 25%. Students drop out for various reasons. Besides, I'm a nasty teacher and it's hard. They are challenged with their jobs, with their families. They get sick, they move, they get a new job. So there's all kinds of things that go on in life that cause or force students, and various reasons, to not finish a series and finish a class. I've had students finish my class from out of state, from out of the country. I've taught to students while they've been on business trips in China, Africa. And Garden Grove is near Anaheim. It's right next door to Anaheim in Southern California. And we are at Coastline Community College on a campus that they share with Cal State Fullerton. So it's a building, a 3-story building, and we're able to use the facility for our session for our week-long faculty development week down here. So roundabouts in teaching, we're going to come back to that. So it's interesting to see how much resistance there is to changing, how difficult it is. And if any of you guys in the room here want to testify how hard it is to do the teaching and use this tool at the same time, you're welcome to to pipe in on the chat window. It takes practice. It's an effort. So it's not something that's terribly intuitive, but it's well worth the effort. But there is resistance to this kind of a change. So as a result of it, as I said, my student retention has increased significantly. Students do better in the class. Because they can be in person, they can be live online, or they can watch the archive later on. And even if they attend live, a lot of my students will go home and watch the archive to go to a particular section of it that they had trouble with. So they want to review it, boom, they don't have to answer me as many questions. They can go back to the session, or I can refer them back to the session, and it makes it easier for me. I don't have to repeat myself so often. So the grant center that I'm working with is called MPIC. It's Mid-Pacific Information Communication Technology. It's a National Science Foundation grant. It's a 4-year grant that we have. We're in year 4, and we just got a 3-year extension. And one of the parts of the grant that we have is to promote improving ICT, or information communication technology education. And one of the ways is by using this model of education, reaching more students and getting them better chance at succeeding. So I'm going to slow down here for a minute because I see there's a bit of delay on the receiving end of what's going on the screen and my audio. So is that correct? Is it a little slow up where you are, Blaine? Because I'm seeing the orange and the yellow light, so I'll pause for a minute.
No, we got the
it's
message,
so
Michael.
Slow
You're coming
that
through, okay.
Didn't get the message yet? Folks that are far away in Houston, audio okay? So you're having some hiccups?
No, we got the message, Michael. You're coming through, okay.
Okay, it cleared out. So with NSF, we've been able to do a number of things to enhance and to improve this model and to push it out a little bit. One of them is to have classes available to students at one community college while the course is being taught at another community college. So for example, in my field I teach networking and security. We have a series called Cisco CCNA, and at my school I don't teach advanced courses after the CCNA series, which is the CCNP series. But I know I have a couple of colleagues around the San Francisco Bay Area that teach it, and they teach it live online, and their labs and their equipment are live online. And so students who are in the North Bay, which is where I am, can take a class from instructors in the South Bay. They actually enroll at that school, so specifically my Santa Rosa students will attend a class at Ohlone or Foothill or Cabrillo College and take the class live online. Last semester I had a couple of students take a VMware class from Ohlone College, and some students take CCNP classes from Rick Graziani and Cabrillo. So what we've attempted to do now with our pilot in these various phases is to publish on our website, or the MPIC website, the different classes that are available at the different colleges around the state, so that students who might not be able to take a class at their school because it's not offered or it's full can sign up for that same course at another college. So we've been sort of increasing the number of classes that are available on an annual basis, getting more faculty comfortable with being able to teach this way and offer their classes this way, so that students are able to complete their degrees and get the courses that they want, get the training that they need and want for the skills that are required for the jobs that they want to get. So there's this two-way street that's going on, whereby students are getting the skills that they need to get the jobs, and industry gets the workers with the skills that they need to fill the jobs that they have. So there's an industry education student partner relationship that we are trying to enhance as well, in order to improve the students' opportunities to not only take our classes, but then get jobs afterwards. The bottom bullet here refers to a toolkit that we've developed with MPIC and with Blaine's help as well. They've worked with us on it to assist faculty in deploying and using this kind of a model and technique to teach the classes. That toolkit's available free to anybody. It's on our MPIC website, and I've got some contact information at the end of this that you can use to get those materials. So we've been using Blackboard Collaborate, and before that it was Illuminate, and before that it was WIMBA, through CCC Confer in California, because of the grant that Blaine's gotten from the Chancellor's Office, so that this platform is free to all of us, community college instructors. Everybody at every community college, all 112 of us throughout California, are able to avail ourselves of this and use it for free. In Nevada, and I should say our grant covers Nevada, California, and Hawaii, the MPIC grant. Nevada, they use Adobe Connect, which is a similar platform to the Blackboard Collaborate. WebEx, that Cisco owns, is another platform that can be used as well. So whatever product your school has, it doesn't make any difference. It's just we're using this because of the grant that we have to be able to use it for free, and there's a great deal of resources available from both Blackboard and from Confer to help you get started using it. So I'm not going to read every item on the bullet list here, but there's some that really make it easier for students to succeed and to conduct the classes. The hurdles that you have to go through, if you will, or the pain that you go through, and the folks in my class here will testify to the pain, that it's not an easy thing to do. I liken it to juggling. As teachers, and then we do the 3-ball juggling, and they didn't bring them in today, but you can imagine juggling 3 balls at once. That's a teacher, because we're always juggling in order to keep up with our job and the number of things that we have to do. If you teach technology, then you've got to keep up with the technology, so I've just replaced one of those balls with a ring. So now we're being teachers, doing all of our stuff, and having to keep up with technology at the same time. And if you start using this platform to teach technology, now I'm asking you to juggle a club and a ring and a ball at the same time in order to accomplish all of those tasks. So it is a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible. And what I tell the folks here is start easy, start small. Just do your office hours online. Just do what you are comfortable with. Just record your class and don't do anything else. Even if you have an online class that's asynchronous, you can record lectures and post them for your students. If you have office hours, people can join you as a faculty member, and I'm sure most of you would agree that you don't get utilized as that resource of your office hours don't get utilized very often. Students don't show up. I mean, we can grade our homework while we're sitting around waiting for somebody to show up. But if you give them access to you through this online portal, this vehicle, then you are going to see a whole increase in your connections and your opportunities to work with your students. So the list here goes on. Lots of things that you can do to improve your interactivity with students. But the message is if you're going to do this, then you need to start easy and start small. And take our training through MPIC or through Blaine and the folks at Confer. Bullet list of the different things, why it's worthwhile, the improvements that take place, better student performance, relationships you have. One of the things that's interesting is, and Blaine, you're welcome to chime in there, some of the studies that we've seen, how the in-person face-to-face class improves with the introduction of Confer into the live class, and how the online remote component improves when you do this simultaneously, because the remote students are no longer alone. They can actually connect and interact live with the instructor and with their colleagues in class. So I have students in class or students in class who log on to the Confer portal and they chat with each other down in the chat window while they're in class, and they will chat with their colleagues online. I've got students who work for the same company. Some of them are in the classroom and some of them are at work, and they'll be chatting about work or problems that they have privately or so that everybody can see. So what it does is it really improves or increases, one, the students' responsibility for their own learning. It makes them more accountable for what they're doing. I tell students, if I'm saying something in class and you don't think it's true and you go on to Google and you find that I'm wrong, you can go ahead and post the URL in the chat window to prove me wrong, and just to increase participation by the students in the class. So it's really a kickstart for your face-to-face classes, and if you allow students to remotely attend as well, then you're going to see this interesting synergy that takes place between the in-person and the online at the same time. We are doing an example of having somebody from a remote site invited into a live class. I teach computer forensics, and computer forensics folks are around the country, and I have a colleague up in Seattle who I'm not going to fly him down to San Francisco to give a 15-minute lecture, but I can certainly have him pipe into the class and give a little 15-minute talk, and I can project him up on the screen. So lots of ways of using this as a tool to enhance your classes. So what's going to come next? I have received this year another grant from the State Chancellor's Office to set up a collaborative project between my college in Santa Rosa GC, Napa Community College, and Marin College. We're all in the same area there, and some of us have classes that are not run on the other sites. So what we're going to be doing in the next couple of years, and during this next year specifically, is to share and work together. And the way it's going to work is that my students are your students and your students are my students. But your class is going to be your class and my class is going to be my class. And we were going to create articulation agreements such that I'll have a major at my school and you'll have a major at your school. And we'll use my discipline of networking. So the major has 30 units of general ed and then 30 units of specific technology classes. Well, the general ed classes can be done at your school because it's your major. And if you've got the technology classes at your school, they can take however many of them that they want at your school. But if something is at my school that's not at your school, then let's let them take my class and count it toward your major. And likewise, if something's at your school that's not at mine, that's applicable to the major or the certificate, then we'll set up an articulation agreement that lets my students take your class and have it count toward their degree or their certificate at my school. So the local school keeps the FTES and it's their class, nothing's changed. But what we do is set up an agreement whereby the class is offered live online and the students can take it remotely. So that's part of the plan that we have. And part of this is to set up the articulation agreements, get instructors trained in the platform, and to figure out which classes we're going to share and which ones are going to be sort of within the domain of the local school. So this is somewhat of a disruptive technology, and a disruptive way of conducting education. And there's some fear about this because our big school is going to take over little schools. There's no intent or desire at all to do any of that, and we put in safeguards to make sure that that doesn't happen. So with the budget cuts that we're all having, and the reduced number of classes that we can offer and the impact that's taking place for our students, whereby it's taking them longer to get out of a 2-year school, anything that we can do to help them with it and help students get the courses that they need in whatever method, I think is going to be a positive step. So, it's no harm, no foul. We're not trying to poach each other's students or each other's classes. The idea is to work collaboratively together in order to improve both programs. Here in Southern California right now, and next week, in 2 weeks, a week and a half up at Ohlone College, where we're going to conduct another faculty development week, and go to the NPIC site if you want to join in for that and attend. It's free. We pay your travel, and it's a week-long training in some topic. Right now, we've got courses here at Garden Grove in VMware, Juniper, HTML5, and a couple of others that escape me. And those are pretty significant classes. VMware is expensive, difficult to run because you've got to train an instructor. They have to get certified. There's a fairly significant investment in hardware that you have to have in order to run that class. And not everybody's going to run it. In California, there's 112 community colleges, and there's no way there's going to be 112 VMware academies, or 112 Juniper academies, or 112 whatever, EMC storage, IBM, Oracle, Citrix, all these different companies that want to have their courses at community colleges. We all are not going to do all of them. So let's divide up. Let's decide who's going to run VMware, who's going to run CCNP, who's going to run the storage stuff, who's going to run all these high-end classes, and let's have our students within our regions and across the state be able to take classes from each other without having to poach, without having to encroach upon each other. But what it does, it allows us on the right side of this bell curve to offer more advanced and specialized classes. So right now we're going into the middle of the bell curve, which is where sort of the average stuff for courses, and especially within technology. But if we're able to sort of decide who's going to teach what and collaborate together, then we're able to offer classes that would not otherwise run. If it's a hard class, maybe you've got 5 or 6 people at your school who are willing and able to take it. But if we cover a region, like San Francisco Bay Area, Greater Los Angeles, San Diego, the whole Houston School District, Dallas, anywhere across the country, then you can pool schools together. You've got 5 schools with 5 students each wanting to take that course. There's the 25 students to make the class run. And we can leverage the investment in equipment that we've spent by making it available to more students and by having the class run more often. So there's a lot of upside to doing this. It takes cooperation and collaboration, but I think the improvement in education is going to be well worth it. The other component, or the other part about teaching this way, in addition to offering these classes that would not otherwise be run, is that we can make these recordings available to students offline so they can watch them on their PDAs or their cell phones. We can turn them into DVDs. Right now, this platform is for Blackboard Collaborate that CCC Confer is using is version 10. I know we're going to be moving to version 11 over the summer. The training that I've been doing here has been on version 11. We're moving to 12. Oh, bloody hell. So now I've got to do it again? Blaine. These people are like, you're going to get a lot of hate mail. So we skipped a grade. Okay, so version 12 is the one we've been talking about that's got the mobile component. So we're going to have to do a refresher course down here on what the mobile part, right? Is this right? There's a mobile component, and I know Adobe Connect has this really nice mobile component that makes it easy to port the software onto mobile devices. So it's getting there, and they're going to talk about it in July. I know that Blackboard Collaborate's got a conference in July where they're going to be talking about it. Version 12. Oh well. So part of this is in response to a demand that students have that we become more available to them. I think if we don't change education and the way that we deliver our classes and the way that we make our offerings available to students, then we run the risk of becoming irrelevant. If students can't get the courses that they want in the way that they want, in the way that they need, based on the lifestyles that they have, their jobs, their careers, their families, life is complicated these days and expensive. I mean, I know all of you have heard about the cost of a 4-year degree and people coming out of school with an enormous amount of debt and not getting a job. I have a lot of students who come back and take my courses at a community college who've got their masters and their PhDs and they can't get jobs, so they're coming back to get certificate programs. The next bubble debt crisis that we're facing is the baby boomers retiring with student loans still. So it's expensive. So we've got to figure out better and more efficient ways of conducting our classes and providing educational opportunities so that students can get these jobs. So yeah, I got a hand up. By the way, if you want to look at the closed captioning, you guys can click on the CC button and you'll see the closed captioning window appear on your screen. So you guys hear that's something that we haven't done in class, so take a look at that and you can watch the captioning. I'm not going to put it up on mine because it's distracting. So is there something that the captioner needs from me?
That was me, Michael.
Okay.
So I was going to comment that your remarks this afternoon are right on the heels of our keynote speaker this morning. Young Zhao was talking about global learning and about the need to think beyond the local. That if you can teach well at one community college, you can your instruction not just can go not just to other community colleges in the state, but really to students all over the world, and that our restrictions of sort of localized education are kind of antiquated ways to approach the problem that the world faces for education.
Thank you. And we've all heard about the flipped classrooms, different ways of teaching, other disruptive technologies of providing instruction for students. Some of you may have heard about a partnership between Harvard and MIT. edX, I think is what they're calling it. You can do a quick little Google online and find them. But they have a program that they're putting a course on engineering. I think that's the one online for students. So there's a number of disruptive ways in which higher ed is offering courses for students, but Stanford's doing one with the Khan Academy and the YouTube videos on the Khan Academy, whereby the instructor is using, and this is in the medical school, where they are using the Khan Academy videos as the homework students go through, and then when the students are in the class live, they are interacting with the instructor on projects and activities, so that the instructor then turns into a mentor and works around with the students and the groups on specific projects and activities, rather than being a lecturer and being the fount of all knowledge and imparting this. So the flipped classroom. One of the comments in one of the articles that I was reading about these changes is that we are starting off with these new opportunities and these new changes in education. But we don't know what it's going to be like in 5 years. We don't know if this is going to work. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're starting now. We have to make these changes for a number of the reasons that I've been talking about and that you hear about, and it sounds like you heard this morning. I didn't hear that talk, by the way, so it was completely coincidental. So some cool things that I've been able to do, both as a part of my grant and using this technology. Last year, our NSF Center received a supplemental award of $100,000 from NSF to conduct an international project in Europe. And so I created a class that was a collaborative effort with another instructor from Ohlone College, and taught 24 students in California and Nevada, all across the state, and 18 students in Paris, simultaneously using CCC Confer. So we had the 9-hour time difference. I had the students here in California at 8 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon in Paris, and conducted a series of lectures and projects with them. And the students had to work together in order to merge two networks. There was the US network and the Paris network. So we used a lot of tools and collaborated. There were teams. They had to figure out how to communicate. The language barrier was a little bit of an issue, but the French students were all in an English teaching course as part of their instruction. So a lot of interesting things came out of this. In addition to the technology we taught, there was a lot of the soft skills that the students got to learn in terms of being on time, project management, playing well and working well with others. So there's a lot of the soft skills that instructors are looking for as well. And we were able to bring, as part of the grant, a dozen of the students over to Paris in order to finish up the project. They gave their presentations at Cisco headquarters in Paris, simultaneously with students who stayed in the U.S. at Cisco headquarters in San Jose. So they were collaborating across time zones, across the U.S. and then the Atlantic over to Paris in order to do their presentations. So it was a very rewarding and amazing experience for the instructors as well as for the students. That class that I created, we repurposed and reused and did the same thing again to China. A couple of other colleagues at Cabrillo and at Ohlone took that course with the materials and the labs that we created and used it for another 24 students in California, Hawaii, and Nevada, and taught a group in China. And then we brought the students over to China, and they just got back last week. So we were able to recycle a lot of the work at half the cost. The expensive part obviously is traveling overseas. But because we're all not going to have a bunch of money to travel students overseas, we can connect overseas. We can connect within the state. California is big. We can work together throughout the entire state collaboratively to set up these programs. I think that with this NSF Center, we're our first time in Southern California. I think it makes the most sense to sort of start off regionally with people that you know and can collaborate with. So set up little centers or groups that are collaborating together, and then we'll see how it expands out into a wider distribution throughout California. I know this method of teaching works. I know that the ability to connect with students across time zones, with even staying within your city, doing live and online simultaneously works. This is the network that you're seeing here that was connected. The left and the right are big topologies of equipment that had to interact together, and so the one in the middle is a kind of a bridge in the middle that connected literally from Petaluma, California in my classroom to Paris, France. So the technology works, the vehicles, the tools that we have to teach this way work. Paris was kind of an extravagant, big way of demonstrating it. It works within your city. So, in the U.S. there are a lot of big cities. You don't want to drive across town in Houston by rush hour traffic. Students don't want to drive across town in L.A., even within the San Francisco Bay Area. I know a lot of adjunct faculty who teach at multiple colleges because they can't get jobs at one college. They might teach at one school. I've got a colleague here in the room who does that. So if we can teach and not have to move around so much, that's an advantage to us and to our students. So there's a lot of ways in which we can leverage this. So back to the roundabouts. It's a challenge. It's a little scary getting into this thing at the beginning, but once you are comfortable with the tool and you're comfortable with your information and the way that you present, you actually become a better teacher by doing this. And one of the things, I can't say that I've been diligent during this presentation, but as I've taught classes and have had closed captioning as a part of those classes, I've had to slow down and be more precise in my diction for the captioner, and that's helped the students at the far end to get the message more efficiently and more effectively. An anecdote about that is when we went to Paris, when I was talking to the students in France, I was talking as I am now. I was really making an effort, and I slow down my speech pattern, and I don't swallow my words as much. And then when my students were speaking with the French students, we all got up and introduced each other. The first day, the American students were talking like this really fast and saying, this is how we talk and this is what we're doing, and my name is so-and-so. French students could not understand them, but they understood me. We were using the same language, but it was the speed and the pace and the way all the words were mushed together. So that being a kind of a simple example, silly example, about how you get to be a better teacher by working with this platform. You'll find the delivery method changes, but you do have to be aware of who's in the room here. You can look at their smiling faces and you're getting feedback from them. And then everybody here is zoned out because we just had lunch and they had too many brownies and lemon bars. But you get a feedback by working dynamically with students. There's not a lot of interaction in this because I'm talking and I'm just kind of pushing all this information out. But when you teach, you get this feedback from your students. And that feedback helps you be a better instructor. So online instruction becomes better because your performance is better for the online folks. So there are a lot of upsides to doing this, both for students getting the classes that they need and for faculty as well to improve your educational or your teaching skills. That's really what I wanted to convey. But to reiterate, there is, I've got this grant. I'm going to do a pilot project this year. So there's my email address. If you have questions about this, about what I'm doing, you are most welcome to get in touch with me, see how it's going. I expect to have problems. I'm not going to figure this all out by myself, but I'm starting on a small scale, and I want to change education in our region, and I'm going to start it off with a couple of these colleges and see if we can actually make it work, break down the barriers, and get out of our silos, and then really start to improve things across our region for our students. Yeah.
So one of the folks here, Michael, wants to know, how did you find the students
in Paris
to do the project?
The students in Paris were at an academy. This was done through the Cisco academies. And Pierre Thierry, who is an instructor at San Francisco City College, is Belgian, and he knew some people over in Paris, and we had a pre-existing relationship with the school in Paris. And so when we had the opportunity to apply for this grant, we asked that school if they would be interested in participating with us, and they were. So that's how we did that one. There were other grants that worked with other schools in Europe across a number of different disciplines with NSF. And if you want information about the school in Scotland that somebody worked with on green farming, and there were a couple of other presentations that were done, I can get you that information. But specifically, we had a pre-existing relationship with that school. Anything else, Chair?
Yeah, we've got another question. Well, just about the sort of practical aspects of teaching a single course between community colleges, different community colleges. So some of the practical things that have to happen. Do you have a common course management system? How do the grades get distributed? How is credit given to students for attending the class and passing the class? And how's money collected?
So as much as possible, I'm going to ignore all of those issues in the model that we're going to try to create, because those are all hard things to deal with. And so how I'm going to deal with it is, let's say I have a class at Santa Rosa, and there are students at Napa that want to take it. They're simply going to sign up for the class in Santa Rosa. They are students in Napa that are taking the class at Santa Rosa, so they are SRJC students. We get the FTES. I'm the instructor. They're in my class. But prior to this, we'll have set up the articulation agreements that students who take my class will have it count toward their certificate or their degree at Napa College. So the idea is to not really have to deal with those issues of who's collecting the money. We're going to keep the system the same that it is. The one area that I hope to be able to at least lower some of the barriers for the students is to have an agreement whereby if a student is at my school and they take a class from another college, then they don't have to pay the student fees and the student health fee and whatever other redundant fees that they may have. So that's how I initially look at approaching this, and we'll see what the receptivity to it will be and what other problems or barriers there are to it and how we have to deal with them. Did I answer it enough? Okay, anything else out there? You guys here? Are you paying attention? You're doing your work. Anything you wanted to? You can turn your mics on if you want to. If you have a comment or something that you want to say in the room here. So if there isn't anything else, that concludes what I have and wanted to present to you today. So thank you for you guys being up there in San Jose and in Houston. Blaine, thank you for setting this up with me and allowing me to do the presentation from down here while we're conducting this seminar. And thank you all for being in the room. I require that you were in here, so you had to be here. So thank you all very much. And we'll carry on. Thanks, Blaine. So I'll just stop the recording here then. You're welcome. And again,